Hello, my awesome advanced pre-algebra students. We are going to spend one more day talking about slope. We talked about slope last week. It's been several days since we've done this, but I want you to remind yourself that when we were finding slope, we had two different ways that we found it, either counting on a graph or using a formula. You can see Mr. Slope Guy right here. Remember, you can always sketch out Mr. Slope Guy. We have Mr. Slope Guy in the classroom. It helps you to remember the types of slope, right? If we have a positive slope, it's going uphill. If we have a negative slope, it's going downhill. If we have a horizontal line, that's got a zero slope. Those are his dimples. And if we have a vertical line, it's undefined. We have a couple of ways of looking at slope. Slope is always just the change in y over the change in x. But we have different ways of looking at it depending on our situation. Remember that we do use the letter m for slope, and m is going to be rise over run if we're counting on a graph. We count how much we go up and down, and then we count how far we go sideways. So opposite of graphing ordered pairs. Remember, ordered pairs, we go sideways first and then up and down. Slope, we go up and down first and then sideways. If we're going to be using the formula, this is our formula right here. That's just finding the change in y, how much the y's are changing is on the top. We find change by subtraction. And how much the x's are changing is on the bottom. And again, subtracting the x's. And I skipped a slide, I think. Oh no, that's the right one, sorry. Here are my graphs for slope. I hope that you can recognize I've got one of each type of slope, like from Mr. Slope Guy, right? Number one, as I go from left to right, it's going downhill. This is a negative slope. And when I'm counting my slope, this is going from left to right again, starting at this point right here, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3 places, and then sideways 1. Negative 3 over 1 for my slope just simplifies to negative 3. Remember, if it gives you a whole number, we're good with that. We like that. If you left negative 3 over 1, I would not mark it wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we can simplify to a whole number, we do. If it would give you a mixed number or a decimal, those we don't change. We're going to leave them as improper fractions if we need to. Number 2, this is Mr. Slope Guy's nose, right? If I count on here, I would go up 1, that's the rise. But sideways, I don't go sideways at all. 1 over 0 is an undefined fraction, and it's an undefined slope. For number 3, this one is a positive slope. It's going uphill as I go from left to right. I'm going to go up 1, and then I go sideways 2. So that slope is just going to be 1 over 2, and that doesn't simplify at all. And for the last one, our horizontal line. This, if I'm counting for my slope, if I ask how much do I go up or down, I go up and down 0. I go sideways 1, but 0 divided by anything is just 0. For the formula, we have to remember what the formula is, and I'm going to show you this again with the formula and with kind of a little bit of a shortcut as a refresher. So our slope formula, remember, m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. When I say sub, I'm talking about the subscripts, those little numbers that are lower than our variables. These are not exponents. They are nothing mathematical. It's just for organization. So for instance, in number 5, each ordered pair has an x and then a y. And I have to make one of the ordered pairs my 1s and one of the ordered pairs my 2s. It doesn't matter which one is which. I've told you that before, but we can just say that the first order pairs are 1s and the second order pairs are 2. That's fine. So my slope. My y sub 2 is really 6 minus y sub 1 is 15. In the denominator, my x sub 2 is 8, and my x sub 1 is negative 10. Please be careful with that negative 10 because you're going to want to do a keep, change. In fact, in the numerator, I'm going to do the same thing. 6 plus a negative 15 gives me negative 9. And in the denominator, 8 plus 10 is 18, which simplifies to a negative 1/2. We always want to simplify fractions when we've got an answer like this. In number 6, I'm going to do another one the same way. And by the way, remember I said in the last couple of lessons that we've done, it doesn't matter which ones are the ones, which ones are the twos. I could do this exact same problem for number 5 or for number 6 or for any of them and switch the ones and the twos. And as long as I'm consistent throughout that whole problem, it'll be fine. So my slope for number 6, y sub 2 is going to be 20 minus y sub 1 is 5 over negative 1 minus 2. So I would do a keep, change on the bottom. I'm going to get 15 on the top over negative 3. And again, that is a whole number. If I can get a whole number, I'm going to get a whole number. That is just going to be negative 5. If you feel pretty comfortable with using the formula and you're looking for a way to save some time, instead of labeling everything with the X's and the Y's and the 1s and the 2s, I do this thing where I draw in some lines like this. I want you to notice what I connected. On the top, I connected the Y's in both of the ordered pairs. The 15 is a Y, the negative 1 is a Y. In the bottom, I connected the X's. The 19 and the negative 1 are both X's. Instead of labeling X and Y and X and Y and 1 and 1 and 2 and 2, I can see now the things that are connected above, those are the Y's, those will go on the top. The things that are on the bottom, those go on the bottom. So here is like my faster way of doing this. I'm also going to switch the order around. Instead of starting with the negative 1, I'm going to start with the 15. Remember, it doesn't matter. 15 minus negative 1. On the bottom, I've got 19 minus negative 1. Do our keep, change. I'm going to get 16 over 20. Now that can simplify. I could divide both of those by 4, and I would get 4 over 5. On this last problem, I'm going to do that same kind of thing again, connecting the Y's on the top and the X's on the bottom. I've also mentioned in class that I've gotten pretty good at noticing which order pair would be more convenient to have as the 1s or the 2s. But if you don't feel as comfortable with that, if you always want to go with the same order, you absolutely can do that. Okay, so I'm going to do this in the opposite order as what I did in number 7. I'm going to go 15 minus 1. Those are the Y's. They both go on the top. And then I would have 4 minus 14. So in the numerator, I don't need to do a keep, change. 15 minus 1, that's just 14. In the denominator, you might want to switch that. That's going to be a negative 10. And that can simplify. They're both evens. I like to pull that negative out in front of the whole fraction. And I would get 7 over 5 for my answer. So today, you've got a finding slope worksheet. There are some problems where you're counting slopes, and then there are some problems where you are using the formula. Please use the formula on the ones that are asking you to use the formula. I know that counting slopes is really easy and it's fast. However, if you don't have the graph already done, it takes longer to graph the points than it does to do 2 subtractions. So So I would suggest that you get really comfortable with that formula. That is not going away anytime soon. When you're all done with this worksheet, those practice problems, make sure you take the Learning Tech and Schoology. And if you need any help with anything, please let me know.